Hey, Dr. Chaffee, I'm starting carnivore. My trainer has me drink a mass gainer for muscle growth within 30 minutes after. What are your thoughts about how to replace that on carnivore, or do you have a certain product to use? Steak, just fatty steak. Cut up, just cook up a big fat ribeye or something like that. Put some butter on it. Cut it up into chunks. Take that with you to the gym. As soon as you finish, just eat it. You just get that right away. It's everything that you need. The mass gainer is a bunch of carbs and sugar and that sort of bullshit. Yeah, you'll gain mass. You'll gain mass and a fat ass. It's just carbs. It's just gonna put on fat. You're not gonna put on muscle. Like, you will put on muscle, but it's not gonna be because of the carbs. Like, you'll put on muscle because of the work that you did and the protein that you eat. You do raise insulin. Insulin does put carbohydrates as well as protein into your cells. But you know what? You already have insulin, and protein does give a bit of a bump of insulin as well for exactly that reason. And so, the idea that it's just, if you don't eat protein with carbs, and you're just not going to get you're not going to get enough insulin put in, get your protein in your cells. Like, who told you that? When was that? Where was that written down? I missed that day on biochemistry class, I guess. It's complete and utter nonsense. So 70% of animal species are carnivores, and I guess they're just not getting any protein because they're not eating with carbs. That's nonsense. So you don't need carbs in order to build muscle. In fact, it's counterproductive because you're just putting on fat as opposed to muscle, and you're getting intramuscular fat. You're getting more glycogen storage and deposition and water retention as a result of that. So you look more bloated, you look more bulky, but that's fat, water, and glycogen. It's not muscle, So if you want to put on lean muscle mass, you just eat meat. You just eat fatty meat, and absolutely. So the same thing that you'd eat at any other time, you eat then, right? So if you want to, call it like an anabolic window straight after working out. And some people say that that's a thing. Some people say it's not a thing. I don't really care one way or the other. If you find that you like doing that and it benefits you, do it. I think of it, and I don't think it's far-fetched from an evolutionary biology point of view, because, when you maximally exerting yourself as a carnivore, when you're running the hell away from something, fighting for mating rights, or hunting and trying to physically dominate something and kill it, that's when you're working the hardest physically. And so what happens directly after that big, large exertion? You get your kill, you eat your kill, so maybe there is something to that. Either way, I don't think it's unnatural to eat directly after you work out for that exact reason. And so, if that's what you want to do, then do it, but just do it with meat. Always do it with just fatty meat. If you're in a stretch and you're in a bind and you just don't have access to that at that moment, there are protein powders that only have animal proteins, like whey protein or egg protein or beef protein, that I have one of them. I think I've used a quarter of it over the last 3-4 years, something like that. And it would be for exactly that reason. Like, I just worked out and I wanted to go, and I didn't have time to eat. I had to go, back into the hospital. I had to go, do something. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna grab some protein and then get on with my day. And that's it. But I wouldn't do any other products of that. I would just eat meat, really. You can get those protein shakes that don't have anything else. But I would really make sure they don't have anything else. So some things that have whey protein, and that's it. That's a single ingredient. Or egg protein. That's it. Single ingredient. Beef protein isolate. That's it. Single ingredient. If it has more than one ingredient besides animal protein, don't get it. They tend to cost more, even though there's less in it. Don't know why. Probably just because there's not as much of a market for it, and so people are willing to pay more. But there aren't as many available. But in any case, you just eat meat. If you're planning ahead and you're planning on having this muscle gainer and all that sort of stuff, just bring a steak. Just bring chopped up steak. Just eat, crush it down, and you'll do great. You'll slam on muscle. You'll find it's easy, very easy to put on muscle. Actually, more easy to put on muscle now than ever before if you're working out hard, and it's making sure you're eating enough. So eat right after, sure, but make sure you're eating enough after that, maximally until it stops tasting good. And you have to do that a couple times a day to make sure you're getting enough meat, or else you'll miss it, and you won't build as much muscle as you can. You don't need to be in a caloric surplus. That's nonsense. A surplus means surplus to demand, means you're going to store it as fat. So again, you want to put on mass, fine. But you want to put on muscle, that's a different story. So you don't need a surplus, you need enough. So you eat until it stops tasting good, your body's going to tell you. When I start working out, I double my hunger easily. And so I'm eating like, 2.5 pounds of very fatty meat a day. And then I start working out, and that goes up to 4.5 easily, and that's pretty normal. And when I do that and I'm eating enough, slamming on muscle, I'm at 44, and it's easier for me to put on muscle now than at any period in my entire life except 20 to 25, when I was also doing this exact same diet. And I was jacked. And when I was down in well, before that, when I was in Seattle, I wasn't lifting weights as much, but I was like, my legs were like tree trunks just because of the amount of running and sprinting I was doing. And I every now and then I would go do squats, and it was just like, and I was squatting, what was I squatting? 495. I do sets of 10. It was just easy, but it was like, it hurt my back so much. It was like, I didn't use weight belt. Probably should have used a weight belt. But it just put so much pressure on my back. And I was just like, I couldn't do more weight than that because it hurt my back so much. Or put so much pressure on my lower back, which I've always had problems with my lower back, for whatever reason. And, but for my legs, it was nothing. There's nothing, I could squat that easily. And so I'd do like sets of 10, and then I'd rest. And I'd do like 4 sets of 10. Just from my sprinting workout, I didn't squat much at all. It was just every now and then I just would throw it in there. But just because of the amount that I was sprinting, it was like 6 to 8 hours a day. I was just at a dead sprint, and in interval, right? Because you break in between sort of drills and games and plays and things like that. But massive gain. Then when I was down in Arizona for a year, and I was with friends that were regularly in the gym, I started getting back into like a regular lifting cycle. And so it was just like 4 days a week, rain or hail. It's never rain or hail in Arizona, so that's easy. That we were in the gym, and I got absolutely massive. I got absolutely jacked. So, and now it's the same thing. If I'm working out consistently and I'm eating enough, I get absolutely very easy to put on muscle. I just put on muscle very easy, and you'll find the same thing. Eat enough meat. You don't need supplements or products. Yeah, you don't. So good luck with that, man. You'll kill it. Hey guys, just want to take a second to thank our sponsor, Carnivore Bar. I don't promote many products because honestly, all you need to be healthy is to just eat meat. For those times that you're out hiking, road tripping, or stuck at work and you want a nutritious snack that is just meat, fat, and salt if you want it, the Carnivore Bar is a great option. So I like this product not because it's just pure meat, but also because I want the carnivore market to thrive as well. And the more we support meat-only products, the more meat-only products there will be available in the mainstream. So if this sounds like something you'd like to get behind, check it out using my discount code Anthony to get 10% off, which also applies to subscriptions, giving you 25% off total. All right, thanks guys. They say, my question is, I'm only eating once a day because I'm not hungry otherwise. Is that okay? Also, I've been experiencing indigestion-like symptoms with burping. Is this normal? I've been lying for 2 weeks. So eating once a day is definitely fine. Do remember that your hunger signals do change, and they're much more subtle. And so maybe you are hungry, you're just not realizing it. So eat fatty meat until it stops tasting good. If once a day is fine, then that's fine. If you're feeling a bit off or a bit weird, or don't really know what's going on there, or you're getting carb cravings, or like something else besides meat is looking good, or a steak sounds really good, ask yourself, am I hungry right now? Try eating meat. And if it tastes good, then you're hungry. Keep eating until it stops tasting good, and just go on like that. Getting a bit of indigestion. Sometimes you can get some, again, that psychosomatic sort of upset stomach because you're eating something that you're not used to, and you're doing it in a way that your body's not used to. And so you just need to ease into that. The burping side of things, I've seen that a couple times. I don't really know why that is. It typically goes away. just see how you go. And hopefully everything just sort of settles down and doesn't cause a problem. But you've been doing this for 2 weeks, which is great. You're just about to get into like the really exciting time where your body starts working so much better, and you start shredding fat, stacking on muscle. Especially if you're working out, and you just start feeling better and better and better and better and better. Some people are a bit more slow burn on their weight loss, or fat loss, I should say. But typically people lose a lot of weight even early on, and they just feel a lot better anyway. Some people who, because one reason their leptin is very elevated, their fasting insulin is very elevated, all of this means their metabolism is very depressed. It may take a little longer. Some people snap right back and their bodies recover and they lose a lot of weight really quickly, and others it takes longer. So either way, just keep going with it. You're just about to get in that time where you're just starting to feel better and better and better and better and better. So I'm really excited for you, because that's a very exciting time. I remember that time. That was my favorite time, because I just felt so good, and it was just really exciting to see how much better I could get as I went. But yeah, if you only need to eat once a week, then you only need to eat, or once a day, then you only need to eat once a day. Just listen to your body, eat more often if it's telling you to, and try to relearn your hunger signals, because they can be very subtle, and it's very easy to undereat on a carnivore diet. So at least try to eat once a day. If that first bite tastes like cardboard, fine, you don't need to eat that day, but at least try once a day, and you'll be fine. 2-3 times a day are perfectly fine too, if that's what your body is telling you to do. Good luck. Gunther SB, thank you very much for the super chat. I love your plants are trying to kill you message. In an old book, I read that a few fermented vegetables have probiotics. Do those also have toxins, and is it best to avoid them? They do have toxins. The fermentation process does lower the toxic load and increase the bioavailability of the nutrients, so that's better. It's still optimal to avoid them, though, I would say. If you're trying to get them for that probiotic purpose, fine. But remember that when you establish a microbiome that's healthy, you will perpetuate it with the meat that you're eating. And so you don't need to continue doing that. There are also probiotics in live culture fermented dairy. So you can have fermented dairy as opposed to fermented vegetables. That's what I would personally do. That's what I've personally done. I don't use ferments at all to any great extent, not plants anyway. I do have occasional yogurt, but I do it in the same way that my friend Dr. Sean O'Mara would recommend with other fermented vegetable probiotics, which is a little tiny bit put on meat, chewed up together in the same bite. So you're mixing that stuff into the meat so that you swallow that down, and the bacteria survive your stomach acid, which is, if you're just eating it straight, probably won't happen. And so when you do that, you can get that bacteria past the guard of your stomach acid and get that into your lower intestine where it's supposed to be. And but once you have it established there, it's established, and you don't need to keep, planting crops. They just keep going. They keep their plants to just keep growing and growing and growing. So they're not like the wheat that just like grows and dies and grows and dies, and you have to keep replanting them. These will perpetuate themselves if you're just eating properly. So and a lot of people don't use probiotics, and they have excellent microbiomes. So but the fermentation process does lower the toxic load, yes, and those probiotics are fine, if you need it. So if you had antibiotics or something like that, yeah, maybe have some of those things. I wouldn't take probiotics from the store, because those have been shown to be pretty useless. And so, if either do it with fermented vegetables, but I would really stick to fermented dairy. That's what I stick with. And not that I've had to take antibiotics in a very long time, but that's something that people typically do is have a bit of yogurt for a week or two after they take antibiotics, and that can just sort of replenish their gut microbiome and be pretty healthy. So that's what I do. But then eventually you're just going to have an established microbiome, and your meat's going to perpetuate that. Just like the Inuit, they just have very healthy microbiomes, and so that just gets perpetuated. Also, your oral biome changes, and so that bacteria is going to get seeded into the meat and then swallowed with each bite. So if you have healthy oral biome, that can give you healthy gut biome. It's just when we're eating a bunch of plants and carbs and things like that, you actually don't have very healthy oral microbes. And so those aren't necessarily seeding the right microbes down to your gut as well. So, those sorts of things, probably a good idea, but not in our case, and certainly not long term. I don't think you need them. Hey everyone, really happy to announce a new sponsor for the show and for everybody down in Australia, Stockman Steaks, who are delivering high quality grass-fed and finished pasture-raised beef and other meats, flash frozen and vacuum sealed to your door, something that I've been enjoying a lot of myself recently as well. They also have a great range of specialty items such as high-fat keto mince and carnivore beef and organs mince with liver, kidneys, and beef heart as well. So use code Chaffee today for a free order of beef mince or another specialty gift along with your order at stockmansteaks.com.au, and I'll see you over there. Thanks, guys. Leah Lowler, thank you very much for the very generous super chat. I appreciate it. Brand new carnivore from Texas with questions. First, your thoughts on fasting to help us lose skin from weight loss. I have heard it's important. I don't necessarily think it's that important. I don't think you necessarily have to fast at all. I haven't seen one way or the other on fasting helping loose skin. People have fasted and their skin has shrunk. There's a famous story in the UK where a guy, I think in Scotland, was very overweight and he just basically stopped eating for over a year. He just drank water and took a multivitamin every day. And he lost all this weight and he walked to work every day and just lost all this weight and was very skinny and the skin came down with him. Now you can do that. If you lose a lot of weight, your skin will come down, but if you gain it back up and then you lose it and you gain it and you lose it and you gain it and you lose it, after about the third, fourth time, the integrity of your skin and elasticity just sort of gives up. And so it just depends on where you are with that. But if you are just eating the proper amount of protein and fat and all these sorts of things and eating the right things, that should stimulate the skin to come down as well. People are probably talking about like, oh, you need to fast for autophagy and this is going to break down the cells. That is a really big reach on what autophagy is for and does, and also how it comes about, because you get autophagy just from not eating carbs. When your insulin goes down, autophagy goes on. And so it's insulin that blocks autophagy. And so when you fast, yes, you go through autophagy because your insulin is coming down, not because you're starving yourself and your body's trying to eat things. Your body eats the fat. Your body runs on fat. That's what it runs on when you're fasting or when you're starving. And it's not just going around because it's breaking down the mitochondria and then it's replacing them and increasing their number. So it's not looking around scavenging for materials. It's making new things. It's making new mitochondria. It's making new cells. And so, no, that's not what's happening there. So I don't think you need to fast. If you are going and you're on a carnivore for several months and you're not really getting the results that you want to try fasting for periods of time, go for it. But I don't typically recommend it, and I don't think it's necessary in this case. 2, will carnivore help nail, skin, and hair health? My nails are not in great shape. Yes, absolutely. It absolutely helps all of those. And a lot of people find that it's really, really beneficial, especially with skin and nails and hair. The one caveat to that is that some people find when they go onto any ketogenic diet and you have this metabolic state change, it can actually trigger a fallout phase in your hair. And so you can lose a bit of hair. It's very much more noticeable for women, especially because hair is longer. And so you're squeezing your ponytail. And it's just like, oh, that's not as thick anymore. And you're seeing it in the drain and all these sorts of things. And you're like, it's like a Wookiee took a bath in your tub or something like that. And you're just like, well, this isn't good. And, so it's temporary though. So it triggers a fallout phase. It's not that the hair is dying. It's that it's a fallout phase and they actually typically grow back, and they typically grow back thicker. And so it's not necessarily you get more hairs, but the hairs that grow back are thicker. And so it looks thicker and fuller as well. And so, that's something that a lot of people experience as well. So just be mindful of that, because some people do experience that. Do make sure that you have all your nutrients, right? So you check your B12 and your folate and your zinc and magnesium and D And thyroid is a when people have thyroid dysfunction, that's a very common cause of having hair sort of fall out and not be supported. You need thyroid for every single cell in your body, and you need your thyroid hormone for every cell in your body. And so I would, just check those things. If people are experiencing hair loss, you just check your bloods, you check your thyroid, you check all those sorts of things. And as long as those things are okay and everything's great, like, okay, it's just a fallout phase. It'll come back. Keep an eye on it, and you'll see, and your hairstylist or your barber will look at it and be like, yeah, there's little hairs growing up, and you have a whole bunch of these things. It takes a while for women to grow back. They do come back by and large. So, and yes, your hair, skin, and nails get a lot more healthy. Put tallow on your skin. Probably the best thing you'll ever put on your skin is beef tallow, just straight up cooking tallow, unused cooking tallow, just scrape it out of a pan and just put it on your skin. Your skin will never look better or be healthier than if you use tallow on your skin. Good luck. That actually changes your odor. And so that can be a thing too. It's not necessarily butter and tallow. It could be because your hormones are changing. That's affecting the way your body smells. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing. Butter smells nice. That's just my opinion, but I'm not wrong. And so it may be different, but it's probably not that much of an issue.